Do cheating husbands, lies, and shocking betrayals fascinate you? Then this is your channel. Drop a like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next. The invitation card sat in neat stacks on my desk. Cream cardstock with gold embossing announcing our 28th wedding anniversary celebration. I ran my finger across the raised lettering. Claire and Michael Ashford request the pleasure of your company. A lie, wrapped in expensive paper. My hand should have trembled as I addressed each envelope, but they remained steady. I'd discovered that shock, when it runs deep enough, doesn't cause shaking. It causes a kind of cold clarity that settles into your bones and refuses to leave. Outside my window, September sunshine bathed our Westport estate in golden light. The gardens looked perfect, hedges trimmed, roses blooming, the fountain Michael installed for our 15th anniversary splashing peacefully. Everything appeared exactly as it should be for a couple celebrating nearly 3 decades of marriage. Appearances. I'd built my entire life on them. I picked up the next envelope and wrote the name in careful script. Rebecca Mitchell, my best friend, the woman who'd held my hand through my father's death 8 years ago, who'd helped me choose this very house, who'd dried my tears when my mother passed. Rebecca, with her warm laugh and her endless empathy, and her promises that we'd grow old together, 2 friends who'd never let anything come between us. Rebecca, who'd been having an affair with my husband for 20 years. The pen didn't waver as I finished addressing her invitation. She'd come to this party. She'd smile and hug me and compliment the decorations. She'd wear something elegant, probably that blue dress Michael seemed to prefer, based on the text message I'd found on his phone 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. That's how long I'd been living with this knowledge, carrying it like a stone in my chest while I smiled and planned and pretended everything was fine. The front door opened downstairs. Michael's voice called out, "Claire, I'm home." "In the study," I called back, my tone perfectly normal, the loving wife greeting her husband after a day apart. His footsteps climbed the stairs. I slid the invitations into my desk drawer and turned as he appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. At 54, he was still handsome, silver at his temples, that confident posture that comes from never doubting your place in the world. "How's the planning going?" he asked, crossing to kiss my cheek. I smiled up at him. Everything's falling into place perfectly. He had no idea how true that was. And the photograph had been tucked inside an old album I'd pulled from storage, one of those forgotten boxes you accumulate over decades of marriage. I'd been searching for pictures to display at the anniversary party when I found it. Michael and Rebecca, standing too close, her hand on his arm, his body angled toward hers, in a way that spoke of intimacy. The background showed the gardens of this very house, but younger, the hedges smaller, the fountain newly installed. I flipped it over. Someone had written the date in faded ink, June 2005. My blood had gone cold. June 2005, the month my father died. I'd spent those weeks at his bedside, watching Alzheimer steal what remained of the man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd walked me down the aisle, who'd held my hand through every crisis of my life. I'd been so consumed by grief and exhaustion that I'd barely noticed Michael's frequent business trips, or Rebecca's offers to check on the house while I was away. How convenient for them. Now, sitting in my bedroom 3 weeks after finding that photograph, I stared at my reflection in the vanity mirror. The woman looking back appeared calm, composed, a far cry from the person who'd locked herself in this room that first night, biting down on a pillow to muffle the sounds of her breaking. But that was the old Claire, the naive one who'd believed in loyalty and friendship and sacred vows. This Claire understood that revenge required patience. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Can't wait for the party. Need me to come early to help set up?" I typed back, "Actually, yes. Why don't you stay in the guest cottage the night before? Like old times." Her response came immediately. "Perfect. You're the best. The best." I set the phone down and returned my attention to the photograph. In it, Rebecca wore a smile I'd once thought was genuine affection. Now I saw it for what it was, the smug satisfaction of a woman who'd been getting away with betrayal for years. She thought she was clever. They both did. But neither of them knew what I'd found. Neither suspected that I'd spent the last 3 weeks becoming someone new, someone capable of things the old Claire would never have imagined. I placed the photograph in my desk drawer, next to the hotel receipt I'd discovered in Michael's jacket. The Mayflower Inn. Last month. Room for 2. Evidence was piling up nicely. Rebecca hesitated when I called her. I could hear it in the pause before she answered. That split-second calculation people make when they're hiding something. "Claire, how are you?" Exhausted, I said, injecting just enough weariness into my voice. This party is consuming me. Listen, I know things have been distant between us lately. Another pause. I've noticed that too. I wasn't sure if I'd done something wrong. You have no idea, I thought. But aloud, that's actually why I'm calling. I hate that we've drifted. You're my oldest friend, Rebecca. It would mean everything to me if you came to the anniversary party. Of course I'll be there. No, I mean really be there. Stay the weekend. Help me with the final preparations, like we used to. I let my voice soften. Vulnerable. I need my best friend back. The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if she'd refuse. Then, I'd love that. Thank you for reaching out. The guest cottage is yours, I said. Come Friday afternoon. We'll have wine, catch up properly. After we hung up, I stood at my bedroom window, watching Michael work in his home office across the lawn. Through the glass, I could see him on his phone, smiling at something on the screen. My own phone felt heavy in my hand. I'd installed monitoring software 3 days ago, a simple app that mirrored his messages to my device. Technically illegal. I didn't care. A new text appeared. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Michael's response, playing it cool. Claire suspects nothing. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. Rebecca again. I still think this is too risky. Trust me, she's too busy with the party to notice anything. Besides, having you in the guest cottage is perfect. Easy access. I took a screenshot, added it to the folder I'd been building. A digital arsenal of their carelessness. They thought I was oblivious, too focused on appearances and social obligations to see what was happening under my own roof. They'd mistaken my composure for ignorance, my silence for blindness. It was almost insulting how little credit they gave me. I opened my laptop and pulled up the document I'd been working on. A new will, drafted with meticulous care. My attorney had asked questions. I'd smiled and explained it was time to update our estate planning. Nothing unusual for a woman approaching her anniversary. He'd filed the paperwork yesterday. Michael and Rebecca had no idea they were already ghosts in my future. The hotel receipt had fallen from Michael's jacket pocket while I was taking it to the dry cleaners. Such a mundane moment for a discovery that confirmed everything. The Mayflower Inn, September 8th, one night, room 214. I'd been in Boston that weekend, visiting our daughter Emma at her new apartment. Michael had claimed a client meeting in Hartford kept him away. I'd even called him that Saturday night. He'd answered on the third ring, voice relaxed, telling me he missed me and couldn't wait for me to get home. He'd been 20 miles away at a luxury inn with her. Now I sat at my desk, the receipt laid flat before me like evidence at a crime scene. My hands didn't shake as I photographed it, uploaded it to my secure cloud folder. 23 items now. Screenshots, receipts, that damning photograph from 2005. Any one of them would wound. Together, they'd destroy. The house phone rang. I composed myself before answering. Mrs. Ashford, this is Melissa from Westport Catering. I wanted to confirm the final head count. 38 guests, I said smoothly. The seating chart is finalized. Wonderful. And you wanted Mrs. Mitchell at table 1, correct? Next to your husband? I smiled at the irony. Actually, let's move her to table 2, between the Harrisons and the Chens. Strategic placement. Far enough from Michael to prevent easy communication. Close enough that I could watch them both from my position at the head table. Every detail mattered now. After the call ended, I pulled up the seating chart on my computer. 38 people who thought they were celebrating a successful marriage. 38 witnesses to what would actually unfold. My finger hovered over Rebecca's name on the screen. I could still cancel her invitation. Make an excuse, uninvite her, spare myself the agony of having her in my home. But that would be mercy. And mercy was a luxury I could no longer afford. I heard Michael's car in the driveway. Tuesday evening, he always came home by 6 on Tuesdays, like clockwork. Reliable, predictable Michael. I slipped the hotel receipt into my desk drawer and locked it. Then I went downstairs, apron already tied, ingredients for his favorite meal arranged on the counter. He walked into the kitchen and wrapped his arms around me from behind. Something smells amazing. Coco vin, I said. I thought we deserved something special. His lips brushed my neck. Have I told you lately how lucky I am? I turned in his arms and kissed him, tasting the lie on both our mouths. Not nearly enough, I whispered. Sleep had become impossible. I lay in the darkness beside Michael, listening to his steady breathing, watching the ceiling fan rotate through shadows. 3:17 a.m. The clock mocked me with its glowing numbers. His phone sat on the nightstand, face down. Always face down now that I'd started noticing. Before my discovery, it had been face up, unlocked, carelessly accessible. Now he was careful, but not careful enough. I knew his passcode, had known it for years. His mother's birthday, backwards. The house settled around us with small creaks and whispers. Michael shifted in his sleep, one arm flung across my side of the bed. A gesture that might have seemed affectionate to anyone else. To me, it felt like a claim of ownership on something he'd already discarded. I slipped from beneath his arm and moved silently to the bathroom, phone in hand. The monitoring app showed his messages in real time. I scrolled through the latest exchange with Rebecca, sent just hours ago, while I'd been in the shower. "Friday can't come soon enough," she'd written. "2 more days. Then we'll have the whole weekend." What if she suspects something? She's too busy obsessing over napkin colors and table settings. Trust me, she's clueless. I gripped the phone so hard the case creaked. Clueless. That's what they thought. That's what I'd let them think. I took screenshots methodically, adding them to my growing collection. Then I opened the Notes app and updated my timeline. 20 years of affair, reconstructed through fragments of evidence, hotel receipts, credit card statements I'd quietly accessed, photographs, text messages, a pattern emerging from what I'd once dismissed as business trips and girls' weekends. All those times Rebecca had needed space after her divorce. All those conferences Michael had attended alone. All those moments I'd been too trusting, too naive, too stupidly devoted to imagine betrayal. The bathroom door handle moved. My heart stopped. I'd locked it, hadn't I? "Claire?" Michael's voice, groggy with sleep. "You okay?" I shoved the phone into my robe pocket, flushed the toilet for effect. "Fine. Couldn't sleep." "Come back to bed." The handle jiggled. "Why's the door locked?" "Think. Fast." "Sorry. Habit from hotel stays." I opened the door, forcing a sleepy smile. "You know how I am." He stood there in his boxers, squinting in the bathroom light, and for one terrible moment I thought he'd see through me, see the evidence in my pocket, see the screenshots that could destroy him. But he just pulled me into a hug. "You're working too hard on this party. Come sleep." I let him lead me back to bed, his arm around my waist, completely unaware that 30 seconds earlier I'd been documenting his affair. We lay there in silence. His breathing eventually steadied into sleep. Mine stayed shallow, alert. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. I watched him in the darkness. He didn't stir. It buzzed again. Slowly, carefully, I reached across him. My fingers closed around the device. The screen lit up with 2 new messages from Rebecca. "Are you awake? I can't stop thinking about this weekend. About us." I took a photo of his screen with my own phone, then placed his device back exactly where it had been. Michael mumbled something in his sleep and rolled over, hand searching for mine. I gave it to him, let our fingers intertwine. 2 more days. Friday, Rebecca would arrive. Saturday night, 38 guests would gather. Sunday morning, everything would change. The seating chart was finalized. The will was updated. The evidence was compiled. I just had to survive 2 more days of pretending. 2 more days of being the Claire they expected, the accommodating wife, the loyal friend, the woman too consumed with party planning to notice her entire life was a lie. I could do that. I'd been doing it for 3 weeks already, and I'd almost been caught tonight. The realization sent ice through my veins. I needed to be more careful. One mistake, one slip, and everything I'd planned would crumble. But I wouldn't slip. Not now. Not when I was this close. Friday morning arrived with cruel sunshine. I stood in the kitchen, coffee untouched, watching Michael scroll through his phone at the breakfast table. His expression was carefully neutral, but I saw the slight uptick at the corner of his mouth. A message from her, no doubt. "Big day," he said, not looking up. "Rebecca arrives this afternoon, right? Around 3. I kept my voice light, disinterested. "I'll have the cottage ready. That's nice of you, considering how things have been between you two." I turned to face him. "What do you mean?" He finally looked up, and I saw the calculation in his eyes, wondering how much he could say without revealing too much. "Just seems like you've grown apart. These things happen. These things." As if 20 years of betrayal was an organic drift, rather than a deliberate choice. "Well," I said, refilling my coffee, "some friendships are worth fighting for." After he left for the office, I opened my laptop. The monitoring app showed his most recent exchange with Rebecca, sent from his car. She bought it. "We're clear for the weekend." "Michael, I'm nervous. Being in her house, lying to her face. You've been doing it for 20 years. What's 2 more days? This feels different. Wrong. Cold feet now? Really? We've come too far. I know. I wish things were different. They will be." After this weekend, we'll figure out next steps. I promise. Next steps. I took a screenshot, added it to the folder labeled Evidence Final. By noon, I'd prepared the guest cottage with obsessive attention to detail. Fresh flowers on every surface, Egyptian cotton sheets, a bottle of expensive champagne chilling in the mini fridge. On the surface, a generous hostess welcoming her oldest friend. In reality, a trap being set. I'd placed a voice-activated recorder behind the bookshelf. Small, undetectable, illegal. I didn't care. If they used this cottage for their rendezvous, I wanted every word documented. My phone buzzed. Rebecca, just left the city. See you in an hour. I stood in the cottage doorway, surveying my work. Everything perfect. Everything planned. Then I saw it, tucked in the drawer of the bedside table, hidden beneath spare batteries and old magazines, a jewelry box I didn't recognize. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside lay my diamond necklace, the one Michael gave me for our 20th anniversary, the one that had disappeared 3 years ago, the one I'd mourned, thinking it lost forever, here, in the cottage, hidden like a secret gift, for her. The box slipped from my fingers, diamonds scattering across the hardwood floor like shattered stars. I'd thought I understood the depth of their betrayal. I'd been wrong. I gathered the diamonds with shaking hands, returning each one to the velvet box. My necklace, the one Michael had presented over candlelight at our favorite restaurant, the one he'd clasped around my neck while whispering that I deserved the world. He'd given it to her. For 3 years, I'd believed my own carelessness had lost it. I'd retraced my steps, searched every corner of the house, filed an insurance claim. Michael had consoled me, promised we'd replace it someday, and all along, it had been here, waiting for Rebecca to wear it like a trophy. I placed the box back in the drawer, positioning it exactly as I'd found it. Then I photographed everything. The cottage, the champagne, the flowers, the hidden necklace. Evidence of premeditation. Evidence of a life built on calculated lies. My phone rang. Susan Hayes, my college roommate, one of the few people I still trusted. "Susan," I said, my voice finally breaking. "Can you come over?" 40 minutes later, we sat in my study with the door locked. I showed her everything. The photographs, the screenshots, the hotel receipts, the necklace I'd just discovered. She listened in silence, her face growing paler with each revelation. 20 years, she whispered. "Claire, I'm so sorry. I need you to know something." I pulled out a manila folder. "I've updated my will. Michael gets nothing. Rebecca gets nothing. Everything goes to Emma and James. The house, the investments, the trust funds. My attorney filed it Wednesday." Susan's eyes widened. "Does Michael know?" "Not yet." I leaned back in my chair, surprising myself with how calm I felt. "But he will. Sunday night, after the party, in front of everyone who matters. I'm going to read them the truth." "You're going to publicly expose them?" "I'm going to destroy them." The words came out flat, factual. Michael built his reputation on being the devoted family man. Rebecca trades on her image as the loyal friend. I'm going to take both those things away and watch them crumble. Susan was quiet for a long moment. "This isn't just about revenge, is it?" "No." I met her eyes. "It's about consequences. They thought I was too weak, too devoted, too blind to ever fight back. They underestimated me. What do you need from me? Be at the party. Sit at table 3. And when I stand up to make my speech, don't try to stop me." I handed her a sealed envelope. "If anything happens to me, if I suddenly change my mind or seem coerced, open this. It contains copies of everything." She took the envelope with trembling hands. "Claire, are you sure about this? I thought about the diamonds hidden in the cottage, about Michael's hand in mine during sleepless nights, about Rebecca's texts, casual and cruel in their assumption of my ignorance. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." My phone buzzed. Rebecca again. "Pulling up now. So excited to see you." I stood, smoothed my dress, checked my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked composed, welcoming, completely in control. "Showtime," I said. Susan squeezed my hand. "I'll be there Sunday. Front row." I walked downstairs to greet my best friend, my face arranged in a smile that felt like a weapon. Rebecca's car pulled into the circular drive at exactly 3:15. I watched from the living room window as she stepped out, effortlessly elegant in cream linen pants and a silk blouse. She looked younger than 51, radiant even, in a way that made my stomach turn. Happiness did that to people. Stolen happiness, built on someone else's devastation. I opened the door before she could knock, arms extended in welcome. "Rebecca, you made it!" She embraced me, and I felt her body relax against mine. Relief that I was still the Claire she thought she knew. Still safe, still blind. "Your home looks beautiful," she said, stepping inside. "I've missed this place. I've missed you." The lie tasted bitter, but I delivered it perfectly. "Come on, let's get you settled in the cottage. I have wine chilling." We walked across the lawn, her pulling a small suitcase, me carrying the pretense of reconciliation like a shield. She chattered about her drive, about mutual friends, about how grateful she was that I'd reached out. "I was worried," she admitted as we approached the cottage. "Things felt off between us. I thought maybe I'd done something." "Don't be silly." I unlocked the door, gesturing her inside. "Life just gets busy. We let important things slip." She set her suitcase down and took in the space. The flowers, the champagne, the carefully arranged welcome. "Claire, this is too much." "Nothing's too much for you." I meant it differently than she'd hear it. I'd planned to leave her to unpack, to maintain distance. But she opened the champagne and poured 2 glasses, and suddenly we were sitting on the cottage sofa like old times, like friends. "To us," she said, raising her glass. "To second chances." I clinked mine against hers and drank. She talked about her life, her work in interior design, the renovation project in Greenwich, her recent trip to Italy. Surface things, carefully edited to exclude the 20-year affair threaded through it all. I listened and nodded and occasionally asked questions, playing my part. Then she touched her bare neck absently. "You know," she said, her tone carefully casual, "I was just thinking about that gorgeous diamond necklace Michael gave you. The one you lost. What was it? 2 years ago?" My hand tightened around my wineglass. 3 years, actually. "Such a shame." She met my eyes. "Did you ever find it? Or figure out what happened?" She was fishing, testing me. The necklace was 15 feet away, hidden in the bedside drawer. Did she know it was there? Had Michael told her? Was this some sick game? "No," I said evenly. "I searched everywhere. Filed an insurance claim. These things happen. They do." She sipped her wine. "Though something that valuable, you'd think it would turn up eventually." The air between us felt charged, dangerous. I smiled through it. "Maybe someday, if it's meant to be found." "Oh, Rebecca, I've already found it." She excused herself to the bathroom and I was alone. My eyes went to the bedside table drawer. I could confront her now, pull out the necklace, demand answers, watch her face crumble. But that would ruin everything. The party, the witnesses, the carefully orchestrated public destruction I'd been planning for weeks. So I sat there, drinking wine with the woman who'd stolen my husband and my jewelry, and I waited. Rebecca emerged from the bathroom. "I need to ask you something." My heart rate spiked, but I kept my expression neutral. "Of course." "Michael." She said his name carefully, watching my face. "How is he? I mean, with the anniversary and everything. Is he happy?" The audacity of the question stole my breath. She was asking me to evaluate my husband's emotional state, her lover's happiness, while sitting in a cottage he'd probably brought her to 100 times. And she'd just asked about the necklace she planned to wear. "He seems happy," I said slowly. "Though you know, Michael, he keeps things close." "Right." She looked down at her wine. "I just worry about you both. Marriage is hard work." I couldn't resist. "Speaking of marriage," I said, "I've been thinking about commitment lately. About what it really means to be loyal to someone. To honor your promises." Rebecca's eyes flickered, just for a moment. That's important." "It is." I held her gaze. "And I think people who betray that trust deserve consequences. Don't you?" The color drained slightly from her face. Yes, of course." "Good." I stood, smoothing my dress. "I'm glad we agree. Now let me leave you to settle in. Tomorrow's a big day." As I walked back to the main house, I felt her watching me from the cottage window. She knew something had shifted, but she didn't know what. Not yet. Saturday morning broke clear and perfect, as if the universe was mocking me with ideal weather for a celebration built on lies. The caterers arrived at 9, the florist at 10. By noon, my house had transformed into something from a magazine spread. White roses everywhere, string lights woven through the garden trees, tables dressed in ivory linen that cost more per yard than most people's weekly salary. Michael moved through it all with practiced charm, greeting vendors, checking details, playing the role of devoted husband with an ease that made my skin crawl. Rebecca emerged from the cottage around 11, offering to help. I put her to work arranging place cards. a task that kept her busy and allowed me to watch her. She handled each card with care, reading names, occasionally commenting on guests she remembered. When she reached her own card, she paused. "Table 2. Not sitting with you? I thought you'd enjoy the Harrisons," I said smoothly. "Catherine mentioned wanting to catch up with you." Truth was, I'd positioned her where I could observe her face when everything unraveled, close enough to see the devastation, far enough that she couldn't easily escape. The afternoon blurred into final preparations. Susan arrived early, as promised, and squeezed my hand when no one was looking. She understood her role: witness, ally, the one person who knew what was coming. At 5 o'clock, I went upstairs to change. The dress I'd chosen was burgundy silk, elegant and severe. I'd bought it specifically for tonight, armor disguised as fashion. I was fastening my earrings when Michael appeared in the doorway, already dressed in his tailored navy suit. He looked distinguished, handsome, every inch the successful attorney celebrating 3 decades with his beloved wife. "You look beautiful," he said. I met his eyes in the mirror. "Thank you." He crossed the room and placed his hands on my shoulders. In the reflection, we looked like the perfect couple, matched, complementary, untouchable. 28 years, he murmured. "Hard to believe." "Yes," I said. "Hard to believe." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I saw the micro-expression he couldn't quite hide: anticipation, desire, something meant for someone else. "I need to make a quick call," he said. "Client emergency." "Of course." I watched him leave, then pulled out my own phone. The monitoring app showed his text to Rebecca. "You look incredible. Can't stop thinking about later." Her response: "After everyone leaves?" "The cottage. Midnight. Like always." Like always. How many nights had they met there while I slept, oblivious, in our bed? How many times had they laughed at my ignorance? I took a screenshot and added it to the folder now labeled The Speech. Downstairs, I could hear the first guests arriving. Voices, laughter, the string quartet beginning their prelude. The party was starting. Our anniversary celebration, our family reunion, our reckoning. I applied lipstick with a steady hand, checking my reflection one final time. The woman looking back was calm, composed, ready. I picked up the small leather folder I'd hidden in my closet, the one containing printed copies of everything: text messages, hotel receipts, photographs, the timeline I'd constructed, the updated will. Then I heard Rebecca's voice downstairs. She was early. I moved to the bedroom window and looked down. Rebecca stood on the front steps in that midnight blue dress, greeting Michael. And around her neck, catching the late afternoon sun like fire, my diamond necklace. She'd worn it, actually worn it, to my anniversary party, in my house, in front of my husband, and Michael saw it. Even from this distance, I could see his face go rigid. He said something to her, sharp, urgent. She touched the diamonds defensively, said something back. They were arguing about wearing my stolen necklace to my party. I watched them, fascinated. Michael grabbed her elbow, tried to steer her away from the arriving guests. She pulled free, chin lifted defiantly. She was done hiding, and she had no idea what she'd just walked into. I descended the stairs slowly, the leather folder tucked discreetly under my arm. By the time I reached the foyer, Michael and Rebecca had composed themselves. They stood 3 feet apart, carefully casual. "Rebecca," I said warmly, "you look stunning." She turned to me, and I saw the challenge in her eyes. The diamonds gleamed at her throat. "Thank you." She touched them deliberately. "I found this old piece in my jewelry box. Thought it matched the dress." "It's perfect," I said. "Absolutely perfect." Because it was. She'd just given me one more piece of evidence. One more reason for 38 witnesses to understand exactly what kind of people they were. Michael's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. I knew what it said, because I'd just sent him a text from a burner number. "Rebecca's wearing Claire's necklace. Everyone will notice." This was a mistake. He looked at Rebecca, then at me, then back at his phone, panic blooming behind his eyes. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "Fine." He shoved the phone back in his pocket. "Just work." "On a Saturday?" I smiled. "You work too hard, darling." More guests arrived. The house filled with voices, laughter, the clink of champagne glasses. I moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting congratulations, while Rebecca and Michael exchanged increasingly desperate glances across the room. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what. Not yet. The evening unfolded like a carefully choreographed performance. Guests filled the house and spilled onto the terrace, champagne flowing, conversation humming with that particular energy of people who knew they were at an important event. I moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting congratulations, embracing family members I hadn't seen in years, thanking friends for traveling to celebrate with us. Every smile felt like a mask I'd perfected over 3 weeks of planning. Michael stood across the room, holding court with his law partners. He caught my eye and raised his glass slightly, a private toast between husband and wife. I returned the gesture, wondering if he could see the truth beneath my performance. Rebecca moved through the guests with forced brightness, the diamond necklace catching every light, drawing eyes and compliments. I watched her accept praise for my beautiful piece, watched her touch it nervously, watched her glance repeatedly at Michael with growing anxiety. Susan saw it too. Her hand found my elbow, steadying me. "Claire, I know." My voice came out remarkably steady. "I see it. Shall we take our seats?" I announced to the room. "Dinner is ready." The guests filtered toward the dining room, finding their assigned places. I'd spent hours on that seating chart, and now I watched it come to life. Michael at the head table beside me, Rebecca at table 2, where I could see her face clearly, Susan positioned strategically at table 3. 38 witnesses, exactly as planned. The first course arrived, butternut squash soup with sage cream. Conversation settled into the comfortable rhythm of a dinner party. I barely tasted my food, too focused on watching. Michael's phone, face down beside his plate as always. Rebecca, touching the necklace periodically, a nervous gesture she probably didn't realize she was making. The other guests, oblivious, celebrating what they believed was a testament to enduring love. After the main course, Michael stood and tapped his wineglass. The room quieted. "Before dessert," he said, "I want to say a few words about my incredible wife." He looked at me with what appeared to be genuine affection. 28 years of practice had made him an excellent actor. "Claire has been my rock, my partner, my best friend. She's given me a beautiful life, 2 wonderful children, and more happiness than any man deserves." The irony was so thick I could taste it. "So please join me in toasting to Claire, and to 28 more years together." Glasses raised. Voices echoed the toast. Rebecca lifted her champagne flute, my diamonds catching the light. Michael sat down, pleased with himself. I stood slowly, the leather folder in my hands. "Thank you, darling," I said. "Now it's my turn to say a few words." The room settled into expectant silence. 38 faces turned toward me, warm with wine and goodwill, anticipating the grateful speech of a wife celebrating nearly 3 decades of marriage. I opened the leather folder. 28 years is a long time, I began, my voice steady. Long enough to build a life together. Long enough to raise children. Long enough to think you know someone completely. Michael smiled at me, unsuspecting. Long enough, I continued, to hide a 20-year affair. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Smiles froze. Glasses paused midair. Michael's face went white. "Claire, I found the hotel receipt, Michael. The Mayflower Inn, September 8th. The night I was in Boston with Emma." I held up the printed copy. "Room 214. You told me you were working late in Hartford." Gasps rippled through the crowd. I saw our daughter Emma stand up from her seat, confusion and horror mixing on her face. Rebecca had gone perfectly still, her hand clutching my diamonds at her throat. And Rebecca, I turned to face her directly, my best friend, the woman I trusted with everything, the woman who held my hand when my father died, while sleeping with my husband that same year. "Claire, please." Rebecca's voice cracked. "Please what? Please keep quiet? Please protect your secret?" I pulled out the photographs. "I have pictures, text messages, 20 years of evidence that you two have been lying to my face." I held up the screenshot from 2 nights ago. "Michael wrote to you. She's too busy with party planning to notice anything. And you..." I looked at Rebecca. "You wrote back, 'I wish things were different.'" Michael stood abruptly. "This is not the time or place. This is exactly the time and place." My voice cut through his protest like ice. "You wanted to celebrate our marriage in front of everyone who matters? Fine. Let's show them what our marriage really looks like." I pulled out the final document. "I've updated my will. You get nothing, Michael. The house, the investments, the trust funds, everything goes to Emma and James. And Rebecca, you're no longer executor of my estate. Consider our friendship officially dead." Susan was crying. Emma had her hand over her mouth. James sat frozen, staring at his father. Rebecca touched the necklace again. and I smiled coldly. That's mine, by the way. The anniversary gift Michael gave me. I've been looking for it for 3 years, but I found it yesterday, hidden in the guest cottage, waiting for you. The silence was absolute. Enjoy your dessert, I said. I'm done here. 1 year later, I stood in the same garden where my marriage had publicly ended, but everything had changed. The house was mine now, legally, irrevocably mine. The divorce had been swift and brutal. Michael's law partners had quietly asked him to take a leave of absence after the scandal broke. Turns out, clients don't appreciate attorneys who spend 20 years lying to their own wives. He'd tried to fight the will revision, claiming emotional distress and manipulation. My attorney had presented the evidence. Every text, every receipt, every photograph. The judge had been unmoved by Michael's protests. He got his clothes, his car, and a reputation in ruins. Nothing more. Rebecca had disappeared from Connecticut entirely. Last I heard, she'd moved to Arizona, trying to rebuild her interior design business under her maiden name. Susan told me she'd lost 3 major clients after word spread about her role in the affair. The diamonds sat in my jewelry box upstairs, cleaned and reset. I'd never wear them again, but I kept them anyway, a reminder of what I'd reclaimed. Emma and James had struggled initially. Anger at their father, confusion about how they'd missed the signs, guilt for not protecting me. But we'd found our way through it together. Family therapy, honest conversations, the slow rebuilding of trust. They understood now why I'd chosen public exposure over private divorce. Some betrayals are too profound to handle quietly. I'd started a consulting business, helping other women navigate complex divorces, teaching them to document everything, to trust their instincts, to fight for what they deserved. The irony wasn't lost on me that Michael's betrayal had given me a new purpose. Susan joined me in the garden, 2 glasses of wine in hand. "How are you feeling?" "Free," I said, and meant it. The heaviness that had consumed me for those 3 weeks of discovery, the cold fury that had driven me through the confrontation, both had faded into something quieter. Not forgiveness, never that, but peace. "Any regrets?" Susan asked. I thought about that night, Michael's face when I revealed everything, Rebecca's tears, the shocked silence of our guests. I thought about the year that followed, the legal battles, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. "None," I said firmly. "They gambled that I'd never find out, that I'd be too weak or too devoted to fight back even if I did. They were wrong." I raised my glass to the sunset. "Here's to second chances, the real kind." Susan clinked her glass against mine. "To Claire Ashford, who reminded us all that some women don't just survive betrayal, they conquer it." I smiled. They'd underestimated me. It was the last mistake they'd ever make. Thanks for watching this entire journey with me. Your support fuels every story we share. Leave a like, subscribe, and brace yourself for the next bombshell.